just the whole way that this thing has been organized, it was too well organized. Something was getting me. Something was getting me the whole time. I'm not taken away from the movement, guys. I'm not taken away from my excitement. Don't get me wrong, okay? But I have some information that I want you to digest and do what you want with it, okay? So these are my links in my mind. I'm going to first point out a few things before I give you info. Well, first of all, let's have a laugh for a moment at the fact that Trudeau is now a COVID contact and has to isolate for 5 days. That's no coincidence now, is it? Is it? You know, and I've given my ideas on how he's going to react to that. There's a few different scenarios. He's going to ignore it entirely, pretend it's not happening, which is what we're seeing with the media most. Fucks every single one of us in anything that we're standing for. Or he's going to lift the mandates and bring in the digital system with Switch Health and all this other stuff that I've been speaking to. Okay. And yes, you're right. Public health did already change that he doesn't need to isolate, so we all know it's a load of shit. Regardless, we don't need to pinpoint as to why it is. We know it's a fucking crock. So anyway, have you guys been seeing what Trudeau has been doing with Ukraine, the whole Ukraine and Russia thing? How he's been giving loads of money, millions of dollars to Ukraine to fight against Russia, which is hilarious because the Ukrainian government has said that it's not an invasion, that it's more of a dismantling internally, sending troops there and all this makes no sense as far as what the Ukrainian government is saying against this, is saying that, it was partly the Biden administration, but I'm sure Trudeau has something to do with this as well, that has created this situation by dismantling the Ukrainian government internally. But, okay, so when Trudeau started giving the Ukraine money and bad-talking Russia and, all of these different things, that was also a flag for me. Now, at first, I was like, oh, this is the beginning of a war. But there's more to this. And it came out in my search around Pat King. This is interesting, okay? This is where things get juicy. Yeah, okay. So Ukraine is being funded by Canada. We're also sending troops there. Did you guys see that? In a time that our country is in an emergency, we're going to send our troops away. So that was interesting. Okay, so now I'm going to get to the juice. Here's the juice. So this actually, I'll proudly say it, I think it's hilarious. I was on one of our Halifax local newspaper sites today after the convoy, arguing with a bunch of people about what the protest was for and the fact that, we're not a bunch of racist supremacists, and it was quite, it was getting heated, which I don't do anymore, but today I got sucked in, unfortunately. But in those conversations with people who are opposing this movement, they gave me some information that I started researching and found actually what I was looking for in a completely different way. So here we go. Do you guys know what Wexit is? So this was an Alberta separatism political party, right? Do you guys know about that? Do you guys know that the CEO of this is Peter Downing? Okay, so did some research on Peter. Peter Downing, they don't claim to be white nationalists. They claim to be libertarian, but they also want to take the West and separate it from the rest of Canada, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that part's not overly important. What's important? Peter Downing had Pat King speak at one of the Wexit rallies in Red Deer, actually. So when he was doing his convoy with connection with Pat King and Peter Downing with Wexit. So when you're arguing with the far lefts and they say this is a Wexit movement, blah, 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 this is why they're saying this, okay? So I don't care about separatism when it comes to Alberta wanting to separate from Canada. That's not even my focus, and I don't think that makes people racist or white nationalists for that reason. You know, there's a lot of political reasons. There's a lot of natural resource reasons. There's a lot of different reasons why somebody would want to be a separatist in Alberta. So I'm not even going to focus on that right now because the political ideologies behind all of this is just too deep for me to discuss with what I'm about to tell you, okay? So, Peter Downing is also part of the convoy. He's friends with Pat King. They are very close affiliates. He is the CEO of Wexit. Wexit is actually affiliated with Soros. Okay? Peter Downing is a former RCMP officer that was actually charged with many different charges. Right there, okay, keywords, RCMP. We know the RCMP are involved internally in a lot of the stuff that's going on, even if the locals are supporting us and helping us right now. We know that the RCMP is also involved in a lot of the stuff that's been going on, including the murders here in Nova Scotia at the beginning of the pandemic. If anybody's done their research, they know this. So we know that the RCMP at an internal level, at a deep level, are involved as well. And Peter Downing is an ex or former RCMP officer who was the person who started Wexit. Okay, he's the one who wanted the Alberta separatism. Peter Downing has been shown to receive funding and advice and maneuvering from George Soros. Now, George Soros also funded and organized the BLM movement, right? Okay, this is where things start to get really interesting. So as we know, the Black Lives Matter protests were funded by Soros as well. So I don't think this is any coincidence that Peter Downing and Pat King have odd affiliations with George Soros while running this convoy to Ottawa. It gets really interesting now. So I was looking at some articles from 2019, some news articles, and they were all talking about Peter Downing's affiliation with white nationalist movements, separatist movements, the Christian church, and of course George Soros, and how that all kind of comes together. Okay. This is where things really, I couldn't believe what I was finding. Peter Downing, when he was when he was running in the 2015 election, it was actually, so he was running for the 2015 federal election under the Christian Heritage Party. He wanted Christian doctrine to be federal law, which a lot of it is, but he wanted it to be federal law. So Peter Downing not only runs Wexit, he also ran for the federal election in 2015 under the Christian Heritage Party. And while he was doing that, he also tried to bring in the UN in the Wexit movement when he started the Wexit movement. He tried to get the UN to partner with him on this movement. Really? Soros, RCMP, UN, Christian doctrine and Christian heritage. See all these key points, guys? So, let's really get into this. Okay. The Christian Heritage Party was funded by Diane Francis. Okay, so she's in the U.S. Diane Francis is on the board of Atlantic Council. Do you guys know what that is? Look into this. funding the movement is on the board of Atlantic Council. Now this is a Ukrainian-tied globalist organization. Ukrainian. Ding, 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 ding. Oh man, starting to put this all together now, guys. So the Atlantic Council is known for interfering with electoral processes in the Americas and Europe. They fund a Ukrainian-tied globalist organization. Okay, so they are the global that's funded by the Ukraine. It was the Atlantic Council which founded what's called CrowdStrike, the firm used to cover up the source of the DNC Clinton email leaks after the U.S. 2016 elections. Is this all coincidence, guys? Like, am I losing it here? I mean, seriously. Do you see the web that we're building here right now? So, in turn, when the Atlantic Council stopped the sources of the DNC Clinton email leaks, they then turned around and blamed Russia. This is fucking retarded. Okay? This group that I'm speaking about is also behind the impeachment coup on Donald Trump recently. It brings together Soros, the Clintons, lobbying firms such as CNN, Reuters, but it also ties in affiliations with, like I had said, the Atlantic Council being with the board of directors of Dianne Francis, who is funding the Christian Heritage Party candidate, Peter Downing, who also is the CEO of Wexit, who is supporting this convoy with Pat King, who also spoke at a Wexit movement. Is this all coincidence? Is it really? So, this council is also funded by and partners with Burisma, which is a Ukrainian energy company that paid Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, $83,000 a month to serve as a consultant. Now, at the beginning, what did I say the reports were saying from the Ukrainian government? That it was the Biden administration that was actually creating this in the first place. And now we're tying in that this council is actually funded by and partners with this Ukrainian energy company that paid off Hunter Biden to serve as a consultant. And Soros is also a major financer of the Atlantic Council, who is congratulated by them for his 17,000 civil society projects in Ukraine. I don't know, guys. I think it's time to start doing some research. I think it's time to start digging deep, because I told ya, this fucking shit isn't even beginning. I knew it. I knew that there was something not right about this entire thing. I could feel it from that guy. I felt it from the minute I heard that man speak. And maybe it's coincidence that he's rubbing elbows with the people who are being funded by Soros and also have their affiliations in with all of this Ukrainian and Russia war stuff that's going on, that's also tied in with the Clintons and Biden and Hunter and all of this. Come on, like seriously. Now, if we think that this is bullshit, okay, maybe it's just coincidence that this is all coming together, then we could say the same thing about the Black Lives Matter movement, right? Like, I'm totally supporting the leftists right now with that comment, because if we are going to fight the leftists on the fact that the Black Lives Matter movement was funded by Soros and not support them for taking part in it, then you know what? They're justified in looking at us and saying, hey, but your movement's also funded by them. Now, I know it's not the civilians, and I know it's not us, it's not me, but potential, a possibility that this entire thing was internally organized, which I felt from the very beginning, that this was internally organized by the same people that have been causing shit this entire fucking time. So, when you're arguing with a leftist, listen to what they have to say and take a look. Because I found some pretty interesting information today fighting with the far left. And I appreciate them for it. I do. Because they brought a lot of information to my attention that I'm going to continue to dig in and I'm going to share with all of you. But at the same time, I want you guys to be looking into this stuff too. Because there's something not right. And you know, I said from the very beginning, yeah, you're right. I said that this was organized so fast. And everyone I said that to was like, oh no, I know lots of people that are part of it. And yeah, okay. But it took us 2 years to get someone to take their fucking mask off. But yet in a week, we organized something this large. Like, I was kind of mind blown by the whole thing. And I mean, it's possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. You know, people do magical things when their heart is in it. And you know, maybe that's what happened. But I really think with all the information I just gave you, there is a loop, and I'm going to draw a map. That's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start drawing like a map so that I can see how all of these things are linked together. But, I mean, the key words, right? Soros, Wexit, Peter Downing, Diane Francis, the Atlantic Council, the Christian Heritage Party, Ukraine, Russia, Biden, and Clinton. This is all together. And now we have Trudeau funding Ukraine right now and sending our troops. There's something going on. There is something going on. And I want everyone to be very, very, very careful this weekend in Ottawa. Please, guys. You need to be on alert, 100%. Now, it doesn't mean that something's going to happen there. But what is the intention? Now, let's just look at it, okay? Let's look at it from both perspectives. The movement needs to happen, yes, because we need to bring people together. We need people to stand up for truth, to stand up for what they believe, for rights and freedoms and choice of what you put in your body. 100%. 100% without a doubt. I support this more than anything. On the other perspective, if this is an organized event, if this has been infiltrated at the deepest level, why? You need to start asking that question. Why? Now, maybe nothing happens in Ottawa. Maybe it goes peacefully and nothing takes place. So let's say that that is the outcome. Why would they have done it then? See, we got to start asking these questions, because when you ask these questions, then you're able to prepare for what it is they're coming with. And I'm telling you, like, there's something going on here. Like, honestly, I sleep like a baby most nights. I really do. I sleep so soundly, like you wouldn't believe. It's like nothing wakes me up. The last 3 nights, I cannot sleep at all. I am anxious. My energy is off. I try to get excited and happy, and then all of a sudden I'm crashing again because I can feel an energy that is like a warning bell going off. Like, I can feel it. And I trust myself. I do. I trusted myself the minute I thought something isn't right here. You know, something isn't right here. So, what are they doing? What are they doing? And how long is it going to take for it to play out is also another question. But we're sending troops now. We're sending troops now to Ukraine. That whole thing that's going on there, that's, I think, where our focus should be. What are Canada's ties to Ukraine and then Soros as well? This whole Atlantic Council, Soros, Ukraine, I think that this is where a lot of my digging is going to be today, because I need to figure out why it is that Canada is now funding and sending troops to Ukraine if they are tied in with everything that I was just talking about. There's something going on in this regard, and it probably, yes, has to do with our financial collapse and all of this. But keep your eyes out when they start blaming Russia for cyber attacks and data leaks and all this sort of stuff, because like I said, that's what this Atlantic Council team, who's tied in with all these people, did during the 2016 elections with the Clinton emails. So it was the same thing then. They blamed it on Russia. We have to support Russia, like honestly, because something is happening here. Something is happening. Anyway, guys, I'm going to continue to dig. I'm going to continue to look, but you know, I know people right now don't want to hear this kind of thing because they just want to be excited about what's going on. But that's blind optimism. It's blind optimism. You know, you can have optimism, but it needs to be awareness as well, right? Because I don't have the best feeling about what's going to happen here. Whether it's day of or what comes after, I don't know. I haven't fully pinpointed that yet, but start researching.